Yeah, who even needs a script? Let's talk about World Trigger. It's a show that came out back in like 2004, I believe. Not 2004, 2014. It's relatively new. Not many people know a ton about it because the animated series that actually followed it didn't get a lot of popularity because, I gotta be honest, it wasn't great. Though, the show itself actually had a lot of potential because even though the pacing was like butchered in the very start, like horribly butchered, they would actually start every episode with like a recap of the last two episodes that would just drag on for like half the time, and then even then it would go like at a chapter's pace, which is, at least for anime, not like adequate. You need to work with a lot more. It's like, that's like what, this isn't Shonen Jump, so it's like 20 pages. You need to fill in that space. You can't just kind of slowly move through the panels. You need to do better. And this show, at least when it started coming out, didn't know what to do with itself. Though, actually, about halfway through, I want to say, like, after we got through the 20s, episode 20s, it started to really pick up the pace and, like, figure out what it was doing. And I think part of it was worried it would catch up with the actual serialization, which I'm pretty sure it's in Shonen Jump. I'm not 100% sure on that. Weekly, I believe. I think they were, like, too afraid of catching up, and then just kind of, like, gave up near the end because it was bombing pretty hard, but whatever. But it's a pretty good show, actually. Like, the setup and, like, the world building and, like, everything behind it is actually pretty good. It's a sci-fi show. Well, yeah, it's a sci-fi show, but it doesn't really take place in space, unlike most. It's centered around a group called Border, which is kind of like a military installation that's centered somewhere in Japan. I don't really know where. And it's one of many. There's apparently a bunch around the world, but Japan is the one where my main focus of, which is fine, whatever. It's a Japanese medium. I don't know what you expect from that. Oh, wait. The city's name is Mikado. I don't know if that's actually a place, but the important part is, basically there's a military installation that's kind of keeping out, like, invading worlds, and I'm not sure if it's, like, it seems to be, like, different kind of, like, galaxies, kind of? Not really galaxies. They show a map of it eventually, but it's a little confusing. It's kind of like this huge network of different worlds and civilizations that are kind of floating around each other, and when they get too close, you can kind of get invaded because, like, you can jump the distance and then jump back real quick. And the only reason people actually, like, are invading each other because they're fighting over this one resource called Tryon, which seems to be human synthesized, but I'm not exactly sure how. Like, it, for all intents and purposes, acts like magic. It, like, tries to be scientific at the same time. Like, there's buildings built out of it, but you also use it to fight, but you also use it to live, and other magic stuff. So it's kind of confusing, but it's, like, cool. It's like a pseudo-material. It's really interesting to actually kind of see what they do with it. And it's, like, just sciencey enough for me, I guess. I don't know. It's cool. It's actually, like, a really sweet thing, but, you know, it doesn't. There's a few, like, questions you have to you pull out of that too, because, like, there's apparently a resource of it. It seems to be synthesized by, at least in the show, shows it to be a human gland, like stuff next to the heart. Hell knows how that works. Okay, the science is breaking down. Doesn't matter. It's interesting, and the whole reason you invade actually other countries is to kind of, like, gather people and, like, straight harvest it from people. Because having more is good, and you need a bunch of this limited resource, and other worlds are, like, fighting over it. Some worlds are actually super dependent on it to the point of collapse, where if they don't keep harvesting, they're gonna crumble, literally. So there's pretty heavy consequences for not having enough of this stuff. And this kind of incites the many wars that are going on in the show. Well, I say many. At least in the 74 episode thing. There's like 70 plus episodes, and there's like a movie too, and there's a bunch of shit. In the 70 episodes they actually have, I think there's two great wars and there's one that precedes the actual story, which they go to really quickly, but basically these are started simply because, started. And these wars break out because of this drastic need for more Tryon. So, of course, to defend against this, the country or the nation has these installations called borders, which kind of localize the teleport circle thing, whatever the hell it is. It's the gates that are opening up that are letting people and these machine things actually into the world. So they can kind of, like, condense the area of influence, or the sphere of influence, and then kind of just immediately respond. Except for very weird gates, which kind of just radicals that they can't catch. So to fight off this actually invading threat, they have a bunch of first responders units, essentially, where they'll go out and remove these problems, actually fight off the invaders. And to do this, they have, like, a bunch of weapons. Like, they have, I guess there's, like, three main classes. There's kind of like a bullet, just kind of like a gun, and there's kind of like a sword. And they all kind of do different things, and they have pretty unique properties, actually. That's one of the strengths of the show, is actually similar to, like, a lot of other shonen shows. Every character is kind of They fight very diversely. They have actually a very not basic toolkit, but they have a very centered toolkit, but they actually kind of develop into their own styles and their own methods of using them. There's different combinations, and then there's like very unique ones too on top of that I'm not going to go into because it's like part of the show. But it's very, very interesting to see them use all these things and actually fight off and kind of develop the tactics around actually fighting them, fighting off the threats. I mean, fucking Christ. Damn it. Okay, where was I? I was talking about something. Oh, I was talking about how they were fighting in the show. Yeah, what can I even say? What more can I say about that? They have a very basic toolkit, but they all kind of develop in their own unique things. And it's kind of, we never really get to see the engineering side of thing, which sucks. I mean, it seems really interesting and really delicate, like the actual tools and the methods they're using. But the show is shonen, so it's focusing on the fighting, I guess. So that's the thing. And I can't find any more of the recent chapters up recently, because I don't know what the fuck's happening. It seems really interesting, and the world that actually is built around these characters it's creative. It's actually really, really creative. It's nice to see a sci-fi show that actually isn't just in space. It's not everything else. I don't know. So it has a lot of just raw, natural potential, and it's very unique. A good thing about the show is it has a lot of characters. The problem is a lot of those characters just aren't fully fleshed out. Like, we know the main cast's backgrounds and their influences, and a lot of the important characters do actually get proper development. So you can at least understand what they're thinking and what they're trying to do. So it's very nice to actually see a lot of different characters kind of fill in this show and kind of flesh out the world. But it's kind of annoying not to know a lot about actually each character. So I guess that's a flaw, but it's not a big one, I suppose. The biggest flaw comes out actually in our main character. How do I pronounce his name? It's like Osama. It's spelled almost like Osama, but our main character is probably the biggest problem in the show. He's interesting, kind of. Like, surprisingly, compared to a lot of other characters, we don't know much about him, except we do. I don't know. It's weird. Like, he's an important character in the show, but like, understanding him sometimes is extremely hard because he's always like, he's supposed to be this smart kid, but he's just not sometimes. Like, he's kind of dopey and he doesn't really get stuff right away. And he's supposed to be like, the show kind of puts a heavy emphasis on like, oh, the tactical application of actually warfare. But all of the plans seem just kind of convenient and they all just fall into place and there's never any like real strategy behind it. Like a lot of other shows, there's like a bunch of training sequences which kind of slow down the overall arcs. So, yeah, that's kind of, the pacing isn't great, especially if I'm talking about the first few episodes. The pacing's not great. You can probably jump in at episode 30, watch the 15-minute recap, and be completely fine. It'll be up to par. I don't know, I feel like I shouldn't like this show, but I really do. It's really, really enjoyable to watch. Especially, like, as it's moving forward, we're actually kind of getting into, like, understanding the other nations a lot better. It's becoming expansive. It's becoming really, really interesting. It's kind of like, I never really was a huge fan of One Piece, but I like the aspect of where there's a million different societies and there's a million different areas you can actually go to. And it's similar in vein to that, where there's just more to see and do. It's nice. It's really, really nice. I just wish we'd actually get more of the show, but I kind of feel it's hit that same wall that Bleach hit, where it was caught up and then it's going to start dying in popularity and then it's never going to get anything else. And I can't find the chapters, so I don't know what the hell's going on right now. So, damn it. I don't know. It has a lot of, I guess the important part of this is it has a lot of potential. It just does a lot of things wrong. So, I suppose if you're looking for like a new shonen or an action series that you really haven't heard about or seen, this could be a good watch. It goes on for quite a while. Like I said, there's more than 70 episodes, and that's more than enough to fill to satisfy an itch for this kind of thing. It's not great, but it's far from bad.